Mario, once again with MIA Microflight, and this is a continuation video, actually the third one that I'm doing on this particular project that has to do with these bins, storage bins. I made these for holding materials or fabric rather, or it could be for other types of materials like rolls of paper, plans. It could be also used for holding long pieces of wood if you work with tiny, or not tiny, but um, small diameter dowels or wood. In my case, I used to buy a lot of the balsa sticks in various sizes, square wooden sticks, so that I can use for building models. I mean, you can pretty much use this for anything that will fit inside this 36 height by 3 by 3 inch square bins here. So I'm trying to roll this fabric here so that I can just give you an idea of how this just holds this material here, and you can see how that's holding. Right now these are vertically uh, set up here, but my plan was to use this horizontally on top of a cabinet, just a file cabinet. One thing that I did change the dimensions here, and it's because I started assembling this as a 24 by 24 width section using a full panel. These panels are 24 inches by 36. So when I started assembling these, it was just getting a little too cumbersome to handle, and I would have had to find a location for a 24 by 24, which is quite a bit too wide, and more than the width. It's not a very practical size for my needs. I mean, somebody else might find it practical for their use. 24 by 24. If you have the space, you could essentially do that. But it was getting also a little bit heavy, and so what I ended up doing is I ended up using a full sheet uh, bent in half, and I'll show you how I bent this, how I scored that line to fold these plastic panels um, in um, in half. So each side is 12 inches, and I ended up using two, and I ended up taping just using the high quality packaging tape, to hold the material firm, and on the corners here. And I ended up doing that on both of these corners because you're bending the material at 12 inches distance to end up with this corner. And so that's how I made my outer box. It's coming out really well that way. It's a lot easier than having to build it the way I was originally hoping to do via my CAD drawing that I show in my first video. And so I still need some form of a clip here, and I'm going to have to 3D print these just a T or cross T's for the ends here, crosses for these center sections here, so that it holds the material more secured and more, so it doesn't have all this flopping here, and also some corner ones so that it holds the box, the outer perimeter of this box, also intact and more rigid and more secure. That way I can just lay this box right here horizontally, and I can access my fabric horizontally. If I put this on top of the cabinet, as I showed in my first video, which was my original intent. With this particular size, also, this is 12 inches by 12. It's a lot easier to stack these. So it does use a little bit more material, more of this corrugated plastic. Um, but I'm going to have the benefit is that I have more bins, for one, and then easier to handle, as I was saying, more practical, for my application as I'm describing here. So that's my my bin here. I have another roll of fabric here, and I mean I got tons of this stuff right here, just different rolls and different colors. Uh, see, that's what happens when you don't roll this on its on a cardboard tube. So I'm gonna have to roll this on cardboard tubes or just PVC tubing. I'll probably use PVC tubing because it's a lot better than just a cardboard tube. And it's probably about the same weight, you know. So, but you know, once these things are in place, that'll be actually this roll is a little bit shorter, but when sitting in this, the benefit of having this horizontally is that you can just insert it just enough, you know, that you can, you know, access it, leave it flush with the edges here if it happens to be shorter dimension as far as the length of the fabric. So anyway, these are the bins, and pretty much this is finalized as I'm showing in this video here. I bought 2 packs from Amazon. I should say not a website, but actually it's from Amazon. One of the vendors that sells this had a sale for these at $34 for 8 sheets, 24 by 36 4mm thick corrugated plastic. Once again, this material comes with the flutes horizontally on the 24 inches. It's not vertically like that. I wish it would have been vertically like that. That way, you know, you have less chance of this bending like it was bending here as I was trying to insert these as crossway with the other panels. So some of these actually bended, and it bends because the bias or the flutes are horizontally this way instead of vertically. So that's the only thing with these panels. You know, if you can find them with if you're trying to do something similar, I would suggest that you find, or if you can deal with just a 24-inch height, you know, you can use these instead of the 36 vertical. You can use the 24 vertical this way, and then you can bend your, you know, you can bend your sheets that way, or slot them this way, you know, which would make for a much more, I believe, rigid setup, and you don't have this risk of bending these tabs here on the flutes, on the horizontal flutes. So anyway, so I have from those 2 boxes that I bought, 8 panels per box at $34. That's not really not bad. Considering that if you buy something like this already made, you can probably find this I've seen these in cardboard. I have a couple of them, as I mentioned in my first video, that I store plants that, you know, I bought those back in the 80s. And they've been holding up just fine. You know, the cardboard bins, but they're shorter and they're kind of on an angle, you know, so you can store plants vertically. You can buy those for about 30, 40. I've seen them for the cheapest one I think I saw was like maybe $35 for just a small one. But they can go up in price up to $50, I think, for one box. That's about the same size as this one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4, 16 bin box or container. So what I paid for the 2 boxes, you know, $35 is about 70. It's about 70 with shipping, $75, you know, for two packs of 8 sheets. And so far, I've been able to do this many. And the reason I don't have these other ones finished is because I'm missing 2 additional, actually 4. 1, 2, 3. And 4, because these are, like I mentioned, you know, these are full panels bent in half at the 12-inch marks. So I need 4 or 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 additional 24 by 36 solid panels, so that I can make another 2 of these containers here. These, since I already had slotted these, you know, I'm just going to remain with these and just get another box of these 8 sheets, and 4 of those I'll be using to make 2 additional ones. So that way I can store a lot of stuff. I mean, I do have a lot of this fabric that I want to store in these bins, and I can assemble these in any way that I see fit, or where or that or depending on where these are going to be placed. I want to keep these horizontally. I mean, I could just lay this on a table on top of a shelf, and that way I can access my fabric. I mean, as you can see behind here, I have a lot of bins here that I use for uh, my daughter keeps some of the stuff here, the yarns and um, knitting needles, and I got a lot of this stuff in these bins. Just materials, fabric. I use some of these, to hold my some of these patterns, that are used for my RC ultralights. So these bins are nice for that, for light stuff. The minute you start adding a little bit more weight on these bins, they become warped, and so I don't keep anything heavy here except just light materials. It's also my daughter's my daughter and I are sharing these bins here. So she was actually labeling this. She's got stuff like that. Um, card stock material, envelopes, stuff that she typically uses for her projects. So it's one way to store things, kind of clean and out of the way, and that way it doesn't get dusty. Not that this area gets really dusty, but but it's a good way to keep things. I mean, I keep threads. You can see, what the way I keep these things in bins, and I'm pretty sure there are other people that keep similar stuff in bins. Just makes sense, to have plastic bins for projects like this. But this is going to hold my fabric, and I'm kind of happy that I'm almost done with this. I was kind of debating on whether I should do these bins like this, or maybe just keep the full size. I mean, you can see how big the full size was ending up. I actually took it apart. I already had this already with the interlocking tabs, almost assembled, almost finished without the sides at the outer sides. But but this morning I woke up and I go, I can't deal with this size. It's too bulky and too cumbersome. So let me break this apart. So I did some drawings. While I was having breakfast, I was doing some drawings, and I did a few drawings. One was this size, the other one was half of this size, which would have made these boxes smaller. And you can do that if you don't need that many bins. You can basically take the full sheet, the 24 panel, and then score it at 6-inch marks. 6, and then you have a full square that you only need to tape one corner there, because that would be the joint. As you're making that outer sleeve or panels. So you can essentially do that, and then you'll end up, instead of ending up with 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4, 16 bins, you're going to end up with 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to end up with four bins. So these containers would be just basically a 4-bin container, and then you can stack these up. The only thing with that is that you're going to need more of this material to make something of this size if you were to stack them together. So I mean, but it's up to it's up to the viewer. Whatever you want to do with this, it's not that bad. It's very once you get into the groove of cutting these slots, and you have the panels already cut, then you can just make the outer sleeves, and that just makes things a lot easier. These, since I already had cut the slots, all I had to do with these to make them into these is just cut at the half 12-inch mark right there. Cut them in half. Just continue that cut at the center of this center slot, and then I broke these into 2 panels, from the single panel sheet. I think I'm over explaining this, but it's better to have all that information than not enough. Let me show you how I make these fold lines here. Um, Let me go back to my my working table here. What I use to make those fold lines, let's see if I have a little piece of that material so that I can demonstrate how I make those folding lines. Um, okay, here's a similar material. This is actually thinner stuff. This is actually 1/16 fluid, corrugated plastic. So I basically just, of course, you're going to where you want to mark where you want to. Let me just do it this way because I did do those fold lines against the grain or against the flutes. So I don't need this section right here. So I'm going to just, let's assume that I have my line there drawn. Of course, you're going to hold your straight edge or ruler up against that line. And then what I use this. This is for you'll find this in anywhere that in any place that sells fabrics, sewing accessories and threads, buttons. Like Joanne Fabrics. You can even buy this, I believe, at Michael's. And it's just a spur wheel that is used to actually mark material. So I use this and I just score one side and then flip it on the other side and score the other side so that I have so that I can hinge that. So I have a line that I can bend and that becomes my hinge point without ripping the material, without having to cut. Don't use this, to do that because it'll weaken the fold line. You don't want to cut that. So I use this. I also use this. I've used this for my for those of you who have seen my auto gyros that is made with I have made fins out of this material. I've used this also to score the material so that I can make natural hinges from the same material, and that way I don't have to use a separate vertical stabilizer with a rudder. So that's my little secret there. Not really a secret because people have used this. People use this for doing this on cardstock, but I've been using this the same concept or the same approach for cutting and not cutting, but for, well, you can actually turn that score line into a cut. It makes it easier to cut if you have that line there with this spur wheel. But it doesn't really cut the material. It just perforates it. I think this is like at about 1/8 increments. So if I were to do that on the material, you can see how it perforates right through, and that becomes your hinge line. Anyway, so that's how I create hinge lines on this material. I showed in my previous video how I cut the slats using this pretty basic tool that I created back in the 80s. And so, if you watch my videos and just pay attention to what these little details, you can basically make yourself something similar if you're in need of this. And for if I buy another 8 sheets, it's going to be another $35. So in total, I'm spending. I would have spent for 4 of these containers. I would have spent 35 times 3. That's about it's about $100. That I'm spending on 4 of these, which is very justifiable for my needs and application. That may be a little too much for some people. I don't know, but I'm just giving you all the information, and what you can expect to spend on something like this if you go this route. Anyway, Mario with MI Microflight. I believe this pretty much um, completes this project and this video series, if you will, on these bins. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for more.